How's everybody doing today? I want to do a quick live talking about how we can actually transform our heartache into happiness. What up, everybody on IG? I'm gonna be looking up because I am live on LinkedIn. That's gonna be my primary focus, but my eyes will gaze down on my Instagram. So if you got a question about what we're talking about, then just put it in the chat and I'll definitely get to you. We're talking about how to turn heartache to happiness. So if this is relevant, hello, Nicole. If this is relevant to you, definitely drop a question in the chat and stay tuned in. We're talking about how to actually turn heartbreak into happiness. So when we kind of go into heartbreak, we first thing we want to understand is heartbreak is a shared human experience. Although, like it says in the Proverbs, the heart only knows its own bitterness. Every heart can only experience its own heartbreak, but heartbreak is not unique to the individual. Every person experiences some form of heartbreak. But the issue is a lot of times when we're in this spirit of heartbreak, we tend to want to isolate. We tend to not want to be around other people. We tend to want to actually keep to ourselves, which can give the illusion and make us deceived to think that heartbreak is something that we're experiencing by ourselves. Heartache is something that we actually have to experience all alone, that our particular experience is unique, that nobody else will understand, and nobody else has actually ever overcame these particular things. And that can be a delusion of actually heartache. Then we got to talk about the different types of heartache. And I'm giving a quick synopsis. I'll go into more detail as I continue this live. But the different types of heartbreak. So heartbreak can come from the loss of a dream job. Heartbreak can come from the passing of a loved one. Heartbreaks can come from missed opportunities or perceived missed opportunities. Heartbreaks can come from feeling betrayal, loss of trust, feeling like we got stabbed in the back by people that we were really, really close to at a particular time. There is no cookie cutter form, or there's no cookie cutter way to describe what will actually cause heartache or heartbreak to certain people, because there are certain people that experience certain things that leads to a heartbreak, and then there are other people that experience the exact same thing and they don't experience a heartbreak. We know this because siblings who grew up in the exact same household tend to have two completely different experiences. You have some siblings that's like, oh, I hate it how we grew up. We grew up in the worst of times. And then you got other siblings that's like, it's not really that bad. So certain people can experience the same situation, the same stimuli, the same circumstance, and it can bring about heartache. While for you, it doesn't bring about nowhere near the form of heartache. So we just gotta understand that it's not something that is unique to us. And then also, but we got to understand that the thing that actually causes heartbreak can be unique to us. But heartbreak within itself is something that's not actually unique to us. So another thing, in order to actually transition from heartbreak or heartache to actually healing and happiness, we got to understand a couple of things. The first one is that resilience is inherent in us. A lot of times we look at certain people and be like, oh, that person's resilient, but not me. That person can be resilient, but not me. That's not necessarily the truth. We got to understand that it's inherent in all of us. It's just about cultivating it. It's just about bringing it out of us. It's just about using the muscle. So we know if we get a cast on our arm, because we're not using the muscle anymore, it gets smaller. So once the cast actually comes off of the arm, the muscle is way smaller. And therefore, if we go to the gym, we can't use the same amount of weights that we used to use because we haven't been putting demand on that particular muscle. It doesn't have the strength. Our resilience is the same way when it comes to our emotional endurance. Most of us haven't been practicing our emotional resilience. We haven't been practicing facing our challenges. Most of us, unfortunately, we distract ourselves, we run from them, but we haven't actually practiced overcoming them. So we got to just understand that it's a mindset and it's a muscle, and we got to be realistic about where we're at. If you're not frequently using your resilience muscle, then don't get discouraged when you're experiencing a heartbreak and it's hard for you to pull yourself out of it. But you do got to know that if you never start using that muscle, if you never start practicing putting demand on that particular muscle, you're never going to cultivate resilience. So that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing is transformation of pain. A lot of times we want to run from the pain. We don't want to experience the pain. We don't want to actually deal with the pain. But the pain is actually the greatest change agent that we can have. So Tony Robbins always says that change or pain, when we allow it to be strong enough, but we don't let it destroy us, it can act as a powerful change agent because it will cause us to shift how we actually view things. Napoleon Hill always talks about how there are two people inside every person. We got the person who we just believe that we are, but then we got that other person that only comes out under dire circumstances. It's almost like the need to survive kicks in, and it just brings out another dog that's in us, that's willing to just push through and fight and just figure it out. But we can only access that dog that's in us, that second person. Inky Johnson always talks about when he was learning to play football when he was younger and his dad would train him. His dad would always say, look, I need you to understand that there's another person inside of you that you can dig out that will go way much harder than your normal standards are. But you got to be able to really dig into yourself to find that other person that's going to really drive and push you through. But if we're scared to embrace our pain, we're never going to be able to find that person. If we're scared to actually sit in our pain, experience our pain, navigate through the actual pain. This is why Morpheus in the movie The Matrix, he said, yo, Neo, you got to apologize, or we got to apologize to you because we typically don't free a mind after 30. Because this is why they also say it's hard to teach old dog new tricks, because people after 30, they're so stuck in their particular ways that they will rather fight you than to actually change. So the number one way in which people over 30 change, unfortunately, is pain. Because it's hard to teach old dog new tricks. People are just stuck in their ways. They're stuck in their habits. But when some pain comes in, that's when we change. You've been married forever. All of a sudden you get a divorce. You'll change your ways. You been mean to your employees all forever, but then all your employees quit, and therefore your economic status starts to decline. You'll start to change your ways. You'll start to look in the mirror and be like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Because it's the pain that will actually allow us to change. But if we're scared to sit in the pain, if we're always gotten to numb it, if I got to smoke, if I got to drink, if I got to be around people, if I got to watch something, do all these other things because I'm not comfortable in this particular experience that I'm experiencing internally, we're not going to be able to change. Which goes into the next point, which is role of the mindset. We got to be able to have a healthy mindset when it comes to perceiving our situations and perceiving our pain. We got to have the mindset of, yes, I am here right now, but this is not where I'm about to be. Yes, I am here right now, but this is not where I'm actually about to stay. So we don't want to have a fixed mindset, because a fixed mindset when we're experiencing heartbreak will make us believe that this situation is not changeable. But this situation is just going to stay how it is. Whatever heartbreak that we're experiencing, we'll just view that it's permanent. But if we got a healthy mindset, we'll recognize that this is just part of the transition. This is just part of the process that I'm in. I may not like the part of the process that I'm in, but I can recognize that this is just a stage. And there are going to be other stages that's actually coming. And I just have to have the courage and the heart to endure this part of the process. It's almost like when you're driving a stick. You may want to go 55 miles an hour. But until you get to gear 5, you're not going 55 miles an hour. I'm sorry. So you got to have the mindset to, okay, I'm in gear 1. So that means I'm going about 10 miles an hour. Okay, now I'm in gear 2. I can go about 15. Okay, now I'm in gear 3. Okay, I'm about 25. Okay, now I'm in gear 4. Okay, now we about the 45, 35 mile range and all that. Now we in gear 5, and now we at highway speed. But that's mindset. Because without that mindset, you could be recognizing that you're going 15 miles an hour and mad that you want to go 55 miles an hour. But if you're not having the mindset to understand where you are in the process, then it will cause you to just be like, oh, I'm never going to be able to go 55 miles an hour. I'm just going to be stuck in the slow lane forever in my whole life. And it goes into the woe is me. And then that's how we become learned helplessness. That's how we get into the victim mentalities. So we want to be mindful of that. The next thing we're going to go over this in depth a little bit more in the live as well too, is therapeutic practice. We got to be open to the different forms of therapy if we are looking to go from heartache to actually happiness. So that means we got to be open to meditations. We got to be open to journaling. We got to be open to counseling. We got to be open to art therapy, community support, going out and building positive connections. All of these different things will actually help us go from heartache to actually happiness. And then enjoying the small things in life, enjoying the simple things. Sometimes my son, I'm so grateful for my son because my son helps me appreciate all the simple things that's in life. That little dude can just be outside with a little stick and he is just happy. There is no pain. There is no, as long as he got a stick and room to move around, he is just happy. And it just shows me, like, every time I learn from my son, I'm just like, man, he just teaches me how to just appreciate the small things in life. I'm so, I can't focus on happiness unless, I achieve these huge, big goals. And my son would just be like, look, we outside and I'm just enjoying. Look, I'm playing in some dirt and I'm just happy. Learning how to appreciate the small things. That's one of the major keys in actually going from heartache to actually happiness. And then stories of triumph. You got to be able to surround yourself with people who actually went from heartache to happiness. People who were at the emotional level that you're at, and now they're at the emotional level that you desire to be at. And the more you actually fill your mind with these inspiring stories, the more you will start to identify with those particular stories, and then you'll find yourself replicating it. So what we're kind of talking about is heartache to happiness, the journey of the soul, how to go from heartache or heartbreak to actual happiness. If y'all got any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll do my best to actually answer them. Y'all see me looking up because I am live on LinkedIn, but I do have my phone here live on Instagram as well. So IG people, when y'all see me look up, know that I'm on LinkedIn. But put your questions in the chat and I will look down and get to them as well. Any questions regarding heartache or happiness? So now we can kind of get into the different types of heartache. And I did a quick synopsis of these earlier, but now we're kind of going a little bit more into depth. So the first one, loss of love. Loss of love can lead to heartache. So what are some symptoms of the loss of love? How do you know when you're experiencing heartache because of loss of love? Well, you got the weight of your memories. So these memories of what you feel like you lost, the person that you feel like you lost, just kind of weighs heavily on your particular spirit. You could just be out somewhere and then the thought of this person that's no longer in your life pops into your awareness. And next thing you know, you're all just sad and you're just feeling just, and then next thing you know, you just feel like you just need to cry and you want to be alone. And then you want to do certain things to avoid or distract yourself. That's a symptom that you're experiencing heartache because of loss of love. Another symptom is avoiding certain places or songs that can take you back to a certain place. So when a certain song come on and you want to change it because it'll remind you of that particular person or that particular experience, that lets you know that, okay, I am experiencing heartache because of the loss of love. Whether I really lost somebody or whether the relationship ended or whatever it is, I had love for something and then it's gone. But most of us just act like we're not affected by certain things. But if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, be mindful that you are experiencing heartache for loss of love. And then feeling a sense of like just emptiness in your daily life. If you just feel completely empty in your day-to-day life, that is a symptom of you feeling like that you don't have love, that you feel like you lost your love. What causes the loss of love? The end of a meaningful relationship. When we had this particular thing that we put on a pedestal, we felt so good about, when those things come to an end, that causes us to feel like we lost love. Growing apart from somebody in which we love. Those things makes us feel like we lost a sense of love. And then the sting of love that hasn't returned. So when love used to be a certain type of way, but now the love's kind of shifted with you and another person, that can bring up the feelings of, I feel like I lost this person, or I feel like I lost love. And if you had the end of a meaningful relationship, if you feel like you're growing apart from somebody that you love, or if you're feeling the sting because you used to have a high level of love for somebody, or they used to have a high level of love for you, and now that love doesn't seem like it's there and it doesn't seem like it's returning, those will trigger that heartache of loss of love, that dimming of light. So we just got to understand, what type of heartache am I experiencing? If you are experiencing any of those symptoms, or if you have dealt with any of those causes, the ending of a meaningful relationship, growing apart from somebody, feeling like they're actually growing apart from you or they're disconnecting from you, then you know, all right, I need to actually address the loss of love. Otherwise, it will continue to have me distract myself, not be comfortable in my own skin, always want to be around other people, always feeling like I need to smoke or drink or do something like that because I'm not comfortable in my own skin. So we got to understand the grieving stages. Once you become aware of the actual grieving stages, it can make the process a little bit easier. So once you can understand that once something happens, you're just going to go into shock. I don't believe it. Then you're going to try to deny it. Then we tend to get angry. Then we try to bargain. The bargain of, I promise, if this person just comes back in my life, man, I promise I'll change. I promise I'll get my stuff right. And then we tend to just accept things. So we just got to understand the stages of actual grief and then where we are in the process and just allow ourselves to actually just get there. And then just seeking closure. It's important. the importance and the how-to of actually seeking closure. You know, sometimes we think the only way to seek closure is actually to reconnect with a person, and that's sometimes true, but that's not always the case. Sometimes closure is just journaling about it. Sometimes closure is just getting a therapist so you can find a proper meaning that makes your internal experience about the situation okay to live with. Sometimes it's just about finding a proper perspective that you can hold on the situation that doesn't cause you emotional pain. And sometimes that's all the closure you actually need. Closure does not mean reconnection, just like forgiveness does not mean reconnection. And then you got to find the joy in new beginnings. I remember one of the huge challenges for me when me and my son's mom separated was just thinking that it was even possible to, you know, try to rebuild and find love again. And these different thoughts were kind of going through my head. And it's like once I fully, and I'm still in the process of accepting it, but once I just started accepting that, no, this is just the reality. And, you know, beautiful things are going to come from here. That person doesn't want to be here. It's okay. No fault on them. No fault on me. But now the space is free for the person that actually wants to be here. And the moment I told myself that I'm going to find joy in new beginnings and new things, you'll be surprised the people that actually just pops in your existence. Takara, how you doing? You'll be surprised at the people that just kind of pops in your existence. But if you do not have the intention of finding joy in new beginnings, they call it a scotoma. These things could be right in front of you and you will not see it. You will only be looking at life through the lenses of your wounds. So we got to heal that. And then consider consulting. The next one, betrayal. So what we're talking about is how to go from heartache to happiness. So we went over the loss of love. The loss of love was the first type of heartache that we experienced. The second type of heartache is betrayal. So some symptoms of betrayal. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, then recognize that you are experiencing a heartache that stems from betrayal. So the symptoms is struggling to trust again. When we have these particular trust issues, when we have abilities or when we have the inability to believe that this person has my best interest at heart, that this person means me good, means me good intentions. When we struggle to really believe that, when we're always waiting on the other shoe to drop, when we're like, this is too good to be true, when we're always just, a person could just be great in front of us and we just kind of looking at them like, what you talking about, Willis? When we always got that, our antennas up because we're skeptical about everything, that is a symptom that we have experienced heartache as a form of betrayal, or we have experienced betrayal as a form of heartbreak. So if you're constantly struggling to trust again, recognize that you got to actually go back and deal with that particular betrayal situation. Otherwise, you will cut yourself off from every person that won't betray you. You will cut yourself off and distance yourself from every person that does mean you harm. This is why they say, unless we heal, we will bleed out on everybody who didn't cut us. So we want to be mindful. Am I closing myself off to the world? Am I self-isolating as a defense mechanism? Do I want to be by myself? Certain people be like, yo, why don't you never go out with everybody? Why don't you never, oh, I just want to be by myself. I don't like going out with people. That just shows that that person's hurt, that they actually haven't healed, that they actually got to do the work. But this is helping you identify it to the situation. Good morning, brother. This is actually helping you identify it to the situation. So now once you recognize the symptoms and you know that the symptom is tied to a betrayal, now you can go back to your memories and like, okay, what betrayal haven't I got over? And it gives you guidance. It gives you like a compass as far as how to navigate your unresolved emotional wounds, how to navigate that terrain. So if you're struggling with trust again, that lets you know, all right, I probably got some betrayal issues. If I'm constantly trying to isolate myself as a defense mechanism, that lets you know, all right, I probably got some betrayal issues. What up, Rara? Hope you're having an amazing day. So we're kind of talking about how to go from heartache to happiness. So right now we're talking about one of the causes of betrayal, or one of the causes of heartbreak is betrayal. So some symptoms: you're struggling to trust again, self-isolation as a defense mechanism, holding on to bitterness. So people who did certain things to us, we don't let it go. We won't let it go. We're just constantly holding on to it. We either ruminate over it, which is ruminating is constantly just replaying the same situation over and over and over and over and over again, just constantly replaying it. And once we're replaying the situation, because of excitation transfer, the brain can't tell the difference between something we vividly imagine and an actual experience. It's going to keep that bitterness going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into our subconscious. And it's going to cause us to bleed on everybody else around us. It's going to control our filters, so we won't be able to see anything other than things that justify me being bitter. But if you are holding on to bitterness, then you know that it's tied to some form of betrayal. And then overthinking past events. We talked about this when it comes to the ruminating. Letting go is a huge issue for me. Betrayal would be number 2. Facts, letting go. That's a huge one. That is a huge one. But letting go of what? A lot of times that's probably stemming from the loss of love, an unhealthy attachment, something that you are attached to that you're struggling to actually let go. So then the question would be why you actually have an unhealthy attachment and what causes the unhealthy attachment. And what is the positive intention behind the unhealthy attachment? Addressing the positive intention will naturally alleviate you having these unhealthy attachments. But if you don't address the positive intention of the attachment, you'll keep finding yourself attached to these unhealthy things. So the third one is unfulfilled dreams. This is why Langston Hughes said, you want to, I can't remember the quote, but it's basically saying like, when you don't have dreams, life is like a bird without wings that can't fly. When you don't have dreams, life is like a bird without wings that don't fly. And in Proverbs, it talks about how a hope deferred makes the heart sick. A hope deferred will make the heart sick or make the body sick. So when we got these dreams, when we got these goals, when we got these things that we're longing for, and then we don't necessarily get it, those can cause heartache. That can cause heartbreak. That can cause us to kind of just sit back and go into victim mode, feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy. All of these things that can lessen our self-esteem, lessen our self-worth. So some symptoms. Well, actually, let me go back to the betrayal real quick. Some causes of the betrayal: being deceived by someone and experiencing broken promises. Those two things can really be the key as far as why we're experiencing betrayal. So go back to your memories and reassess to see if there are certain memories that you haven't got over that has to do with somebody deceiving you or somebody breaking your promises. Address those particular memories and you'll notice that the symptoms will naturally go away by themselves. Most of the time we focus too much on symptoms and we don't focus on causes. But when we focus on the causes, the symptoms naturally go away on their own. So going back to the unfulfilled dreams. So some symptoms of unfulfilled dreams. How do we know we are experiencing a heartache as a result of unfulfilled dreams? Well, we got feeling as if life is on pause, feeling like that you're just stuck in life, that you're not going anywhere, that you're not growing, that you're not developing, that life just isn't getting better, almost like you're just in quicksand. Because in quicksand, it doesn't matter how much movement your body is doing, you still just keep not going anywhere, not going anywhere, not going anywhere. And that's how it can feel when you feel like you're unfulfilled in life, like you feel like your dreams aren't really happening, like you feel like you're not capable, or if you feel like things aren't possible, or if you feel like you don't deserve things, or if you don't feel like you're worthy of certain things. And then you got periodic spouts of melancholy, where you just kind of just feel down and just blah and just not really into life, and you can't tie it to anything. It's not like something happened and I just feel down because of that, or something happened because or this deal fell through. So you can't tie it to a specific reason on why you're feeling down. You just have moments of just feeling down, and it's hard for us to tie, why do I just feel this way, why do I particularly. And these instances, they're tied to unfulfilled dreams, unfulfilled longings. And then when you hesitate to dream again, so when you got a dream, a goal, a desire, but now you're just kind of like, well, the last time I did it, it ended up in failure. Or the last time I tried to do that, people didn't support me. Or when this happened, that didn't really give the result that I wanted. So I'm just not about to try it again. And that's the danger of our minds, because to not get overwhelmed, the brain does a couple of things: delete, distort, and generalize. The generalization is we only have to experience things once, twice, 3 times, and then we can form a generalization so we don't have to keep trying to relearn things. When you learned how to drive a car, You don't got to relearn how to drive every new make and model car you get into. You can generalize it. Okay, this got a steering wheel, it got 4 doors, it got some tires, it got a seat, it got a steering wheel. I can generalize that this is a car, and it works the same as all cars. I don't got to relearn how to drive a new car every time I get into one. I can generalize. That's how God intended the generalization within us to work. However, we use it in ways that makes us feel terrible. So we'll experience, trying to do something once or twice, it don't work, and then we'll just generalize that we can't do it, or that it's impossible, or that only those type of people that can do it. Those are ways in which we unconsciously use the generalization pattern to make ourselves feel less than, to make ourselves feel worse, to make ourselves feel like life isn't actually good enough. So we want to be mindful of those generalizations. So it will cause us to hesitate to dream again because we had 1 or 2 failures endeavoring to try to pursue a dream. It didn't work out. And then we generalize that that's just how it is. So we got to guard. We got to be mindful of. That's why they say don't make major decisions in a valley, because we got to be mindful of the decisions we choose to make and the meanings that we put towards ourselves and our situations when we're experiencing a heartbreak. When we're experiencing heartbreak or heartache, we're not about to find empowering meanings that's going to drive us to the next level. We're going to find meanings that's going to make us a victim. So we want to be mindful of that. So what's the causes of this unfulfilled dreams, this heartbreak because of unfulfilled dreams? Not seeing our dreams come to fruition. We endeavor to do a certain things and it didn't actually happen. So therefore, now it makes us feel a certain type of way. It's making us feel negative. It's making us feel like, oh, I'm not about to try to dream again because what's the point? I'm just going to fail, or it's just not going to work out. Victim mentality. That's the cause. Feeling like your dreams are not going to come to fruition. Also, society pressures and metrics of success. People telling you, yo, by this age, you're supposed to be living like this. You're supposed to be driving this type of thing. You're supposed to have this type of woman. You're supposed to be married for this amount of years. You're supposed to have this many kids. You're supposed to be living in this type of neighborhood. You're supposed to do this and do this and do. And they call it the mental blueprint versus your life conditions. So based on the society pressures, based upon our family and all these other things, and social media, we all have this image of how we feel life is supposed to be. Got a phone call. So we all got this image of how we feel. Okay, I just want to make sure the live wasn't messed up. We all got this image of how we feel that life is actually supposed to be. And when we are not feeling good in life, when we're experiencing heartache, it's because the image that we have in our mind as far as how we think life is supposed to be doesn't match our actual life conditions. It doesn't match how we're actually feeling in life currently. That's how we know we're experiencing some type of heartbreak. When the image that we have in our minds doesn't match what we're actually supposed to be or the life that we're actually living. So there's 1 or 2 things you can do. You can either make your life conditions match your mental blueprint, or you can learn how to shift your mental blueprint to match your life conditions. Another cause of it is the pitfall of constant comparison. We're only supposed to compare ourselves to who we were yesterday. We're not supposed to compare who another person is today, because we don't know their journey. We don't know what they went through. We don't know their starting place. We don't know any of those things. We're just looking at them again, back to the 5 gear. We're looking at them going 55 miles an hour. We're like, oh, I want to go 55 miles an hour, and I'm only going 10 miles an hour. But you're in first gear. You try to go 55 miles an hour in first gear, you're about to stall, and then you're going to be going nowhere. So instead of just being grateful for the motion that you're doing, you're looking at somebody else going faster and be like, I wish I was going that fast. That's what causes the heartbreak, because we're looking everywhere else and being like, I wish I was doing that, as opposed to being grateful for where we're actually at right now. Being grateful for this 10 miles an hour we going, and having a vision of seeing ourselves going 55 miles an hour in the future. This is why Jim Rohn said, you want to be grateful for what you got while you're in pursuit of what you want. Be grateful for what you got while you're in the pursuit of what you want. So what you want to do is redefine what personal success is to you. Jim Rohn said that success in life direction in life got to be our own. Not your mamas, not your schools, not your bosses, not your friends, not society. It got to be yours. So the direction in life, you got to redefine what success is for you. Recreate that image as far as what success would be in your mind. And then learn the art of success of setting realistic goals. Redefine what success is for you. Figure out the goals that you need to set to actually reach that success, what it is, and then just focusing on gratitude. Because when you focus on gratitude, and appreciation, everything that you have increases. What you think upon expands. This is why when we think about frustration, we get more frustrated. But when we think about everything that we're grateful for, we start to feel a little joy and appreciation. Like somebody didn't wake up today. Somebody's kid didn't wake up today. So I don't care what I'm going through in life. If I can just sit there and focus on my mind and bring my attention to the fact that my son woke up this morning. Somebody's son didn't. My son did wake up this morning. I woke up this morning. My son's mom woke up this morning. I had a friend call me the other day. His daughter's mom died in her sleep. Young woman. She wasn't even 35. Died in her sleep. No causes whatsoever. And we over here frustrated about all these other things that somebody didn't even wake up this morning. But when we keep that perspective, and regardless of what's actually going on in life, I got breath in my body. As long as I got breath in my body, then a brighter future is possible. As long, because that person that didn't wake up today, their situation is permanent. They don't got the ability to change it and switch some things around. I do, regardless of how crazy my situation is. But if we don't got that mindset of appreciation, because we're just so locked into our own perception and our own life and just thinking that our problems are just the worst problems in the world, not realizing that there's certain people out here that would dream to have our problems. Dream. And this is why I love the work that I do, because I can sit up here and be frustrated and be sad about some stuff that I'm going through. And then somebody schedules a call with me and I sit there and I'm just like, I feel so little for complaining about what I was dealing with. After hearing what this person is experiencing, I feel so, just childish, just so immature, just so petty for sitting up there complaining about certain circumstances when there's people out there that's dealing with real stuff. I got a car. I got a place to stay. I got food. I got an office. It's certain places, certain people that really ain't got no place to go. It's certain people that really ain't got no family, really ain't got nobody to, really ain't got a soul on this earth. And we just get all frustrated about our particular situations. But when we can be grateful, that's one thing that can help us. Another thing is loss. When we're experiencing some loss, so the first one we talked about was loss of love. This is experiencing a sense of loss, period. And this is actually one of the main causes of suffering. So they say it's 3 typically causes of suffering: less, loss, and never. When you perceive a situation like you're less than, it's going to make you suffer. When you perceive a situation like you lost something, it's going to make you suffer. And if you perceive a situation like something can never happen or something's not possible, it's going to generate feelings of suffering. So loss. What are some symptoms for when a person's actually experiencing loss? Well, we have overwhelming sadness and grief. Just overwhelming sadness and grief, where it just seems like it's almost uncontrollable in a sense. You'll just be sitting there, then all of a sudden just the sadness seems to emerge, and you be cool for a little bit, then all of a sudden it seems like the sadness seems to emerge. That lets you know that you're experiencing a sense of loss. I lost a lot of family in the last 5 years, man. And even the language patterns of I lost a lot of family in the last 5 years, I would encourage you to frame it in a way that you didn't lose, but that you actually gained. Like, you didn't lose, they gained peace. But if we frame it as I lost, it's going to cause suffering. Another thing that when my youngest cousin died a couple of days before her high school graduation, she was 18 years old from toxic shock. I didn't even know what toxic shock was until Dee had passed. Basically, when women use tampons and all that, it could, like, a bacteria can form and it could cause like the blood in the body to become toxic. And literally within like a day or two, the blood went through all her organs, shut all the motherfuckers down, and she just died. And devastated a whole bunch of our family, because again, she was the youngest one in our family. She had never been sick, none of these things. And I remember I was talking to my grandma. My grandma is the one that raised her and all that. So my grandma was completely devastated, because she's just like, I'm supposed to bury her. She's not supposed to bury me. Or, what I'm saying? She was supposed to bury me. I'm not supposed to bury her and all that. So my grandma was like distraught. And me and my grandma was talking, and I was like, if Dee was right here in front of us and she's seeing how you were handling this situation, how would that make her feel? And my grandma was like, man, she'll probably be devastated. She wouldn't want to see me crying and all that like that. I'm like, I'm like, see, we're crying because as crazy as it sounds, we're being selfish. We're thinking about what we lost. We're not really thinking about the person that actually lost their life. We're thinking about what we won't have again, how we won't be able to talk to this person, how we should have actually took the time when they were alive to do this and go see them and go visit and say all these other things. That's all in our head. But the actual, people keep calling, they're so disrespectful when they say I'm online. But the actual realization is when if Didi was to see us crying, she would be hurt. That wouldn't make her feel happy that we're crying, because Didi will want us to be excited. Didi will want us to be joyful. Didi will want us to celebrate. Didi wouldn't want us to just be down as a result of her. That would make her sad. And she's seen us sad as a result of that. And that shifting in perspective really helped my grandmother out. It really helped the entire family out. Because people were just like, you're right. It's selfish of me to just sit up there and hold my head down when she's the one that actually lost her life. I'm still breathing. I'm still here. Again, as long as I got breath in my body, then a brighter future is possible. There's no brighter future for Didi because she ain't got no breath in her body no more. So I always think about that. As long as I got breath in my body, a brighter future is possible. Doesn't matter what you're dealing with. I don't care what the circumstances are. Because again, there's certain people, when you ain't got breath in your body, that's when the situation ain't changeable. That's when the situation is fixed. So we want to be mindful of these. Overwhelming sadness and grief. Then retreating from the world. So we're talking about the symptoms when a person is experiencing loss as a form of heartache. So retreating from the world and loved ones. You don't want to be around nobody. You want to isolate yourself. You want to be by yourself. You're not trying to answer the phone. You're not trying to go out. You don't want to be seen by people. And what do we know about when we isolate ourselves? That's typically when we do the worst behaviors. If you're a man, you're probably masturbating like crazy. You're probably drinking all the time. You're probably smoking, probably possibly doing other drugs, like maybe some pills or something like that. Always watching porn, probably just distracting yourself with low-level vibrational shows, TV shows, and all these other things like that, just to entertain you and pass time. But you don't want to be around other people because you don't feel good about yourself and because you don't want to be called on your actual behaviors because you know that they don't reflect your highest self. So you know you're experiencing a sense of loss when you're constantly trying to retreat from the world and your loved ones. You don't want to be seen. You're not trying to be out. You want to be low key. When you're feeling disbelief or denial, when you're trying to just act like your situation ain't like it is. And we experience people like this, where the situation is as clear as day, but they just don't want to accept it. They don't want to see it. They can't see it. They're like, nah, it got a little, that delusion is going to increase our sense of loss. And then unexpected waves of anger. This is how you know a person is experiencing a sense of love. When they can just get that anger coming to them, that's a sign. So we want to be mindful of that. Some causes. The passing of a cherished person. Like when somebody that we deeply care about, somebody that we had a strong relationship with, when they're no longer in our life, that can cause the feeling of loss. Losing something that has deep sentimental value. I remember one of my mentors, their house caught on fire when I was in college. I was like 22 years old, 23 or something like that, and they lost everything. And the wife was distraught because both of her parents had passed away, and inside the house was a treasure chest of everything her dad had ever given her. And so she was distraught. She was completely distraught because she's just like, yo, I just lost all the sentimental stuff from my dad. I will never be able to get that again. So losing sentimental things that have sentimental value can trigger a sense of loss in us. And then losing a loss of job, that can cause it, or like where life shifts to the point where your identity just goes away. So a lot of athletes experience this, where your whole identity was wrapped up in being like a high performance athlete, and you made it all the way through college, but your skill wasn't good enough to get you to the professionals. So now their sports career stops. So now they're endeavoring to go into another field, and they feel like an imposter. They feel like that this is not their identity, because their identity is being elite in sports. So now you got to go into an office. Your identity ain't never been that. Ain't never been, somebody that's eloquent with their words, somebody that's a business mind thinker, somebody that's enterprising, somebody that's high in sales. That's not their identity. Their identity is crushing people in athletics. So they experience this sense of loss of identity once they don't make it to professions, and now they got to go and try to do something else, find a job, do something regular, start another business, whatever it is. But athletics stops, and their whole identity from when they were little until they were adult is all just about being a top athletic, being a top athlete. I crush everybody in athlete. I'm killing everybody and all. Well, once the athletics activity stops, who are you? This is why I love Inky Johnson. When Inky Johnson is talking to athletes, and just like, it's funny because when people stop saying, "Yo, all right, you are not a football player no more, you can go and live life," they don't know what to do no more. They don't know what to do with themselves because their whole identity was wrapped up in being this athlete. But then once that stops, they tend to self-destruct because they don't got no. This is why they say the issue with setting goals, because once you set a goal, if it's not a lifestyle, once you reach the goal, then everything, your motivation for reaching that goal stops. Oh, I'm about to get in shape so I can run a marathon. Okay, once you run the marathon, all your training stops now, all your discipline as far as your eating regimens and all. For the most people, yes, it does. Because once you reach the goal, if you don't got another goal set immediately, you lose your drive. So making sure that, okay, if I had a loss of identity, if I had a shift, if I was this big time entrepreneur, now all of a sudden my business went under and now I just got to go work a job. Or I was this big time executive and I got demoted for whatever reason. And now I'm at a lower level with all these people and I'm struggling with my identity because I used to be up here with status and now I'm right here. A lot of college students in regards to fraternity experiences, because when you're an undergrad and you're in a fraternity, you know, you're the king of the hill, top of the hill. Everybody wants you. All the ladies want you. Then once you graduate college, don't nobody even really be caring about that Greek stuff. Don't nobody really be caring about the fraternities and the sororities and all these other things. So they can struggle with their identity. What's up, Raquel? They could be struggling with their identity because their whole identity was like, oh, yeah, I got my status from being a Kappa. I got my status from being an Alpha. I got my status from being a Q. But then as soon as you graduate and people don't really know what the heck that is no more, now you don't feel good about yourself because your whole identity was tied into that particular organization. So we got to be mindful that we can experience a sense of loss, like a loss in our identity. Once life shifts and that identity doesn't hit with us anymore, if we doesn't have another identity that we like, that can cause us to experience a sense of loss, which can cause us to really start to spiral if we're not careful. And the last one I want to go into, because I got a client at 11, so I'm going to have to jump off here shortly. But the last one I want to go into is loneliness. So loneliness is a form of heartbreak. And a lot of my clients experience this and their behaviors when they're experiencing a sense of loneliness. Peace. And heck, Hibbo, sorry if I mispronounced that. I appreciate you participating in the chat. But when they're feeling lonely, that's a lot of times when the worst behaviors kicks in. That's a lot of times when they are masturbating. That's a lot of times when they're just entertaining a lot of women that they shouldn't really entertain, and that they know, and when they were feeling the best of themselves, if their money situation was how they want, if their body was how they want, if their self-image was how they want. I asked them, would you entertain this woman? No, I wouldn't. Why are you entertaining her now? Oh, just because I'm feeling lonely. I'm not my best self and all that. This is why they say what you attract while you're broken will disgust you when you healed. And we don't need to be trying to attract people while we're in a spirit of loneliness, when we're not necessarily feeling good about ourselves. You are already making sense. So we want to be mindful of that. And some symptoms of loneliness. How do you know, all right, I'm in a season of experiencing loneliness. You're constantly feeling of being an outsider. You don't feel like you belong in any group. Your social circles that you usually go to, I don't really want to go and hang out with them because we find these reasons. They're doing this, they got that going on. I'm just going to chill because I'm not really trying to. We constantly find reasons to be an outsider. That's how you know you're feeling a sense of loneliness. Choosing to avoid social interactions. You know what? I'm not even about to go over there because I don't want to talk to them. I got the urge to go say hi to this person, but I'm not about to say something. You know what? I got invited to this event, but I don't even really feel like interacting with people. These are signs that we're in a season of actually being lonely. And we want to be mindful of that because we don't make great decisions when we're lonely. We tend to make terrible decisions when we're alone. This is why Nas also said in one of his songs, never make choices out of desperation. Think through them. Because when we are desperate, we tend to engage in the lowest forms of human behavior. And then another thing on how you can know whether you're engaging or whether you're in a season of loneliness or not is you're constantly questioning your own self-worth. You don't feel good enough. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel deserving of great things. You feel like you may look to your past, to things in which you have done to justify why you are by yourself right now, why you are alone right now, why you experience some type of pain or heartbreak or struggle or something like that right now. So we got to be mindful of the sense of loneliness that we're in. What can cause a spirit of loneliness? Well, major life changes, such as like moving to a new location. Maybe you were in one. I know I moved a lot when I was a kid. Had to move from city to city. I went to elementary school in South Bend, and then right when I graduated, I thought I was about to go to middle school with all my homies. Mom was like, "Oh, sorry, we got to move from South Bend to Indianapolis." Dang, okay. So then, right when I'm starting middle school, I got to go to a whole new district of people that I never knew before. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get through middle school. As soon as I graduate middle school, mom's like, hey, sorry, we got to move again. We got to change districts. I'm like, okay. So then I go to high school in a whole new district, got to meet new people all over again. So every school I went to, or every, middle school, elementary school, whole different city. Middle school, whole new city. High school, whole new district. College, whole new city. Constantly having to pick up and find new relationships, new meanings, new identities dang near. That can cause a sense of loneliness. But it ended up benefiting me because that's also why I feel like I can just meet people anywhere, because I always had to keep doing that since I was little. So it did eventually, I feel like it's a benefit, because certain people I feel struggle forming new relationships, and I can just keep forming new relationships. I struggle keeping them because, again, I kept moving and all that stuff like that. So keeping the relationships is my challenge. Forming them, not so much. Another cause of loneliness is lack of close or meaningful connections or relationships. So when we feel like we don't have meaningful connections or meaningful relationships, that can make us feel lonely. When we're experiencing hardships and we don't feel like we can just pick up the phone and call somebody that just will listen to us and make us feel heard, make us feel seen, make us feel understood, that can make us feel lonely. When we're experiencing challenging times and we really feel like, damn, I can't just call nobody, or damn, ain't nobody gonna pull up on me just to make sure I'm good, that can make us feel lonely. And then experiencing events that others can't relate to, or that make us feel like misunderstood. If we're experiencing an event that somebody else can't relate to, it's going to make us feel lonely. But this is also why you don't want to stay in your head with certain things, because most of the times the things that we feel like people can't relate to, yes, the people that's in our immediate circle may not be able to relate to it, but there's always somebody out there that actually can relate to it. So we want to be mindful of that. So, Lord have mercy, my session starts in 2 minutes, so I'm gonna try to fly through this real quick. So the heartbreaks that we actually went over: the loss of love, betrayal, unfulfilled dreams, just a sense of loss and loneliness. So how do we actually transition to a healthier heart? Lord have mercy. I did not think it was gonna take this long. I'm gonna try to get through this, but I literally only got like a minute. Although I feel like Clayton will understand a little bit if I'm a little late, but I honor my clients, so I'm gonna try to be there. All right, so the steps to actually transitioning from a healthier heart. The first thing is awareness. We got to be present of our feelings, and we got to acknowledge our feelings without judgment. We can't beat ourselves. Jim Rohn always says that you want to use your experience as a schoolhouse to learn from, not as a club to beat ourselves over the head with. And that's how most of us are. When we experience this hardship, when we reflecting over things that we did wrong, we just constantly want to beat ourselves up over the head. And we don't want to do that. We want to be able to be present in our feelings and be able to acknowledge our pain without judgment. Then we want to be able to find acceptance. You got to be able to accept and embrace your current emotional state. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to, and as men, it doesn't make you weak to be hurt. And you got to understand as a man that you don't ask for help because you are weak. You ask for help to remain strong. So you got to accept where you're at if you're really trying to get to emotional peace. But if you keep trying to deny it and just this toxic masculinity of I'm invincible, I'm tough, that didn't hurt me, I'm good, you're going to keep being self-destruct. And you're going to be like them women that get online. It's like, oh, I'm just so, and then cry in the shower every night. You don't want to do that. You don't want to just act fake persona like everything is okay, knowing deep down you're actually crushing yourself inside. Deep down, you're actually spiraling. So you want to become aware. Then you want to accept. Then you want to take action. You got to have proactive steps. This is why getting a healing coach, getting a counselor, getting somebody, it's hard to see the picture when you're standing in the frame. Find somebody who used to be where you're at currently, but who is at where you want to be. They came from the circumstances that you were at, but they are managed to be where you actually want to land. Form a relationship, learn everything you can from them. Then affirm yourself. So affirmation, you got to learn how to speak positively about yourself in regards to the vision that you want to create for yourself. Speak life into yourself. Use your words as a honeycomb to be sweet to the soul, not bitter to your bones. Have a positive internal dialogue, and then build positive community. So we want to make sure that we are building positive community when it comes to our circle. We need to have people around us that make us feel supported, that make us feel heard, that make us feel seen. And then we are doing that the same thing. One of the easiest ways to actually recover back from trauma is having positive relationships, positive connections, just being able to express and just feeling heard, feeling seen. A lot of times that's a game changer when it comes from going from heartache to happiness. So I gotta go, man. I hope y'all got value from this. Shoot me a DM if y'all got any particular questions. Herb, I am going to go live a little bit later. Request to join live. Then I got a coaching session and I had to just get through this live, so I wasn't able to request it. But request to go live. Then I would love to talk to you. Y'all be blessed. Have a great day. Peace.